Hey, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, and I'm live for you on LouTube today. Thanks for watching. I really appreciate it also. And up today is the SEC preview for week 4. I'm going to run through all the SEC games coming up this weekend. I'm going to talk a little bit about the games, and I'll give you a preview, and I'll make a pick on the game against the spread for you. As usual, all of the preview videos I'm doing this season are sponsored by the good people over at betnow.eu. Click the link in the description of this video. It'll take you there. They'll take care of you for all your college football betting needs all season long. They've even given me a promo code to let you guys use. So when you sign up over there, make sure you enter the promo code Uncle Lou, and they're going to give you a 100% sign up bonus on whatever you deposit. Good luck. All right, here we go. Now, as usual, we're going to go through these games in chronological order. So I'll start with the early games on Saturday, and we're going to work our way through all the way up through the prime time games. Here's a list of all the games, this week's schedule for the SEC up on the screen now. As usual, we've got some pretty good games this week. We've got some okay games, and we've got some terrible games, right? We're going to start with the noon games and work our way through. All right, up first this week at noon. Number 2 ranked Georgia Bulldogs at Missouri. Georgia's a 14.5-point favorite. This game comes on 12 o'clock on ESPN. Georgia will win this game. 14.5 is an interesting number. Of course, that's a little over 2 touchdowns. If you look back to last year, Missouri scored the most points of any team we played all year, with the exception of the first Auburn game and the Rose Bowl, Oklahoma. They even outscored Alabama. They put 28 on us last year. I believe it was... all of those points came in the first half, I believe, or 21 of them came in the first half. We shut them down pretty well in the second half after making some adjustments. No doubt about it, Drew Lock is an elite quarterback. He's probably the best pure throwing quarterback in the SEC. Tua has been impressive so far, but Drew Lock's been doing this for a long, long time, and he's really, really good at getting the ball downfield. He's got some big wide receivers. He's got some tight ends that can give Georgia a problem for sure. I feel a lot about this game like I felt about the Ole Miss-Alabama game last week. I said, look, Alabama's going to win this game. It probably won't be close in the end, but I feel like Ole Miss will get some yards and some points. Well, Ole Miss gets the ball, scores on the first possession, and then that was it. I mean, they never scored again. Could we see a similar situation like that with Georgia and Missouri? It's possible, but I do think Missouri, maybe I'll be wrong. I'm going to say it again, though. I do think Missouri will get some points and some yards in this game. I don't think they'll be able to keep up with UGA, and Georgia, as we've seen in the first few games of this season, I think Georgia will wear them down, particularly in the second half. Missouri has absolutely no defense at all. They gave up a ton of yards. Did they give up 500 and something yards passing to to Purdue last week? I know they beat Purdue, but wow, that's a lot. Will this finally be the week Georgia unleashes what most people thought would be a pretty deadly downfield passing game this season? We've yet to see it. All the games have been blowouts. We've been able to pretty much just line up and run the ball. All the starters have come out by the second half, and we pretty much just handed the ball off 30 or 40 times in the second half. But nothing really down the field yet for UGA. Will we see it this week? A Jake Fromm versus Drew Lock duel? Maybe. The Missouri game last year, again referencing this game from last year, Jake Fromm had more yards against Missouri last year than he did in any other game. It was his only 300-yard game, I believe, was against Missouri last year. I think he threw for 325 about against Missouri. So will they let him cut loose? Will we see Demetrius Robertson catch some passes this week? Will Terry Godwin finally be healthy enough to go at 100% and make some plays? We know Miko is going to be involved. He's been really our best player all season. He's one of the most exciting players in college football. I'm sure he'll be involved one way or the other. DeAndre Swift played one series last week. I expect to see more of him this week against Missouri. I think Georgia wins this game by more than 14.5. It won't surprise me at all if Missouri scores a little, particularly in the first half, and keeps it close. I don't think they can hang for all 4 quarters. I would take Georgia and lay to 14.5. Usual disclaimer about my Georgia picks. I'm a Georgia homer, obviously, and if I were you, I wouldn't listen to anything I say about spreads when it comes to UGA. I'm obviously biased in UGA's favor. I do my best to do these predictions and previews objectively and bias-free, but if you're watching this video, you're probably a fan of some college football team too, and you know how hard that can be to be objective about your own team. But anyway, dogs win big. Also at noon, a sleeper game here. You can watch the Georgia game at noon. You don't want to watch this one. Kent State at Ole Miss. This one comes on 12 o'clock on the SEC Network. Ole Miss is a 28-point favorite in this one. Ole Miss looking to rebound from that beatdown they took to Alabama last week. I mean, that game, was it 42-7 or 49-7 at halftime or something? It's unbelievable. Alabama's offense looks unstoppable at this point. Can Ole Miss rebound? Yeah, because the reality is Ole Miss is a really good offense. Problem is Bama's got a really good defense. They found that out last week. Kent State can't stop Ole Miss. Ole Miss will win this game. 28, that's a lot of points. That's 4 full touchdowns. Hard to lay 28 with Ole Miss after watching what they did last week, even though you know it was against Alabama, right? I mean, I expect Ole Miss to win this game, and I don't think it'll be that close, but 28 points seems like a whole lot. No, it's at home for Ole Miss, but I would probably avoid this game because, I mean, you know, Ole Miss has NFL wide receivers and a pretty good quarterback in that TAMU, the other pineapple in the SEC. I could see Ole Miss winning by that, but if I was going to play this game, I would take Kent State and give me the 28 points, but I would probably stay away from this one, though, to be honest. All right, and this one, people want this to be a good game so bad, don't they? And you get this a lot with Alabama. Could this be Alabama's test this year? Texas A&M goes on the road to Tuscaloosa to take on Alabama. Texas A&M ranked 22. Alabama, of course, ranked number 1. This game, 3:30 CBS. Alabama's a 27-point favorite. That's a good number if you're looking for a reason to take Bama in this game. People are high on Texas A&M because of a loss. That's a little unusual. But there's really no other reason to be that high on Texas A&M. Let's just be real. They did look good against Clemson in a home game. That game came down to the wire. They ended up beating Clemson by a couple of points. They had a chance for a 2-point conversion to tie that thing up. So people are saying, well, Texas A&M's a lot better than what we thought they were. Probably. Texas A&M probably is a little bit better than we thought they would be. Maybe Clemson had an off day, or maybe Clemson not as good as we thought. I mean, either of those three things could be true. Texas A&M does have a pretty big home field advantage, and I'm sure that helped in the Clemson game. They don't have that luxury this week against Alabama. They travel to Tuscaloosa, and listen, it doesn't matter who Nick Saban is playing. He treats every single game the same. Texas A&M is going to get Alabama's best shot. Alabama's going to get Texas A&M's best shot. Nothing I've seen this season from either team makes me think Alabama is losing this game. 27 points seems like a lot under normal circumstances. These ain't normal circumstances. I would not recommend betting against Alabama on a spread until you're proved wrong. If you're going to bet this game, I would take Alabama and lay to 27. I mean, this game could easily be 49-10, 35-10, something like that at halftime. Alabama's offense looks that good. We'll see. Texas A&M had some success against Clemson's offense. I just don't think Clemson's offense is on the same level right now as Alabama's. Now, defensively, if you want to make some arguments that Clemson has just as good or maybe a little bit better or only a little bit worse than Alabama's, maybe you can make an argument in that direction. You can say, well, Texas A&M had success on Clemson. No reason they can't do it against Alabama. Again, that was a home game, a big game for Texas A&M. This is a totally different ball game here going on the road to face Alabama. I would stay, I'd probably stay away from this game, but if you're going to make me pick one, I can't pick out. I mean, if you've watched Alabama, how can you pick against Alabama even given the 27 if you've watched Alabama play this year? God, that's a lot of points. 27 points. Give me Bama, I guess. All right, now here's one that this might be a good game now. South Carolina at Vanderbilt. Neither one of these teams is ranked. South Carolina's a 2-point favorite. This one comes on 4 o'clock SEC Network at Vandy. South Carolina sitting on 1 loss to UGA, a blowout home loss for South Carolina. Vandy, of course, has the 1 loss on the road to a pretty good Notre Dame team. Now, you can argue that maybe Notre Dame's a little overrated being in the top 10 after the performance they had against Vandy. Or is Vandy better than we thought they were? I'm not sure. I did a preseason video on Vanderbilt in the offseason, and I couldn't find a way for them to make a bowl game. And I had them starting out 2-1, winning their first 2 games, losing to Notre Dame, and still not being able to make a bowl game. I had this game as a loss for them. But after what I've seen so far this year, I do think this will be a close game. I really do. I like Kyle Shermer. I know South Carolina fans are high on Jake Bentley. They don't want to listen to reason, which is a problem they've had for a while. But I think this will be a good game. I think 2 points is a pretty good number for South Carolina here. Most people thought South Carolina was pretty much a lock to win this game in the preseason. I think you look at both of these teams now, and it's pretty much a toss-up. I mean, 2 points, so you're pretty much saying this game could go either way. I'm going to go with my gut instincts here from the preseason, and I'm going to go with South Carolina to get this win and cover the 2 points. I think South Carolina wins this game somewhere in the 7 to 13 point range. Would I be completely shocked if Vanderbilt pulls off the upset? No, I wouldn't. And I was impressed with the way they went up there and represented themselves against Notre Dame last week. I think they have somewhat of a letdown this week from coming so close to having that huge upset last week. I think it bites them this week, and South Carolina wins this game and covers the 2 points. How about this for an in-state rivalry? Louisiana Tech at LSU. Not much reason to watch this game, is it? LSU, of course, now ranked 6th after their big win over the Barn this past weekend. LSU's a 20-point favorite. This one comes on 7 o'clock on ESPNU. LSU will run away with this game. 20 points for an LSU offense. You know what? I think I'm buying LSU at this point. That's a lot of points. LSU's definitely winning this game. I'm not sold on Burrow yet. Jeez. I'm going to take Louisiana Tech in this one. I do think LSU will win, but I'm going to roll the dice here and say that Louisiana Tech can keep it within 20. All right, here's a good one. 7 o'clock over on ESPN2, number 14 ranked Mississippi State, a 10-point favorite on the road at Kentucky. Of course, Kentucky with a huge win over Florida. Huge only because they haven't done it in 31 years. Not huge because they beat a good team, because Florida, not that good, right? But for Kentucky, it was a huge win. Mississippi State's undefeated, sitting at 14. A lot of people really, really high on Mississippi State coming into the season. Some people had them as a dark horse to win the West and possibly even the SEC. After watching a few weeks of the season so far, not sure if I'm willing to go that far yet. LSU looks like clearly the second best team in the West right now behind Alabama. But I think Mississippi State can make a push for that second place spot. I'm curious to see how they do against LSU down the road. Kentucky's been rolling. Benny Snell is the real deal. He's one of the best running backs in the SEC. Their quarterback, touchdown Terry Wilson, who I had some questions about heading into the season because he had never taken a snap in Division I football before. He enrolled at Oregon out of high school, never played, transferred to a junior college, and now he's at Kentucky. So he was getting his first action this year. He's looked better than I thought he would look. A little inconsistent. You expect that, though, from a guy getting really his first Division I experience. But I think he has overperformed what most people thought he would do. Is that going to be enough against Mississippi State? I don't think so. This is going to be the best defense Kentucky has faced. Florida's defense is in the NFL now. Muschamp's defense is gone. They don't have all that much talent on the defensive side of the ball. Mississippi State does, particularly along the front. I think Mississippi State finds a way to slow Benny Snell down and force touchdown Terry Wilson to try to win this game for Kentucky. And I'm not convinced he can do it against the defense of Mississippi State. I think Nick Fitzgerald will have a big game here too. I think Mississippi State wins this game. 10 points though? No. This is at home for Kentucky. I'll take Kentucky to keep this close. Give me the 10 points. Arkansas at Auburn. Auburn ranked number 9 after the loss to LSU. They're a 29-point favorite at home over Arkansas. This one's 7-30 on the SEC network. I'm sorry. Auburn will win this game by a lot. I know they're disappointed, and there's a potential of a little bit of a letdown this week following an emotional home loss to LSU last week. But against Arkansas, it would have to be one hell of an emotional letdown for that to actually matter against Arkansas. Wow, Chad Morris needs to be lemon lawed. This guy, I know people weren't expecting them to win a national title or anything this year, but you had to be expecting some kind of improvement. I mean, this guy talked a big game in the offseason, made a lot of promises about things that were happening at Arkansas, and he's come out and completely fell on his face at Arkansas. 2 humiliating, embarrassing losses already for Arkansas out of conference, right? They've looked absolutely terrible. Auburn will have their way with Arkansas in this game. I think Auburn comes out, looks to make a point in this game. I think they beat Arkansas by more than 29. All right, here we go. And to me, this is the game of the week in the SEC, even though it involves two below-average teams that are both unranked and already have losses. But you got Florida at Tennessee, 7 o'clock on ESPN. Somebody has to win this game, don't they? I mean, Florida has lost 7 straight games to Power 5 teams. Tennessee has lost 9 straight games to Power 5 teams and 9 straight SEC games. Tennessee hasn't won an SEC game since November of 2016. Florida hasn't won an SEC game since, Kentucky last year, right? So, I mean, both of these teams desperate for a win in the worst possible way. Both teams have first-year head coaches. Well, Tennessee has a true first-year head coach. Dan Mullen is his first year at Florida. He comes over from Mississippi State. He downgraded. He traded in like a, I don't know, Ford Taurus. That's what he had at Mississippi State. Now he's driving like a used Ford Focus at Florida. But somebody has to win this game. I think this is a bigger game for Tennessee than it is for Florida. Tennessee needs I mean, hard to say that beating Florida at this point could be a statement win for anybody, but for Tennessee, it would be a statement win, and they need one in the worst possible way. If you look at Tennessee's schedule, and I have been talking about this, I mean, since forever and a day, all offseason, but if you look at Tennessee's schedule over the next month or so, it's absolutely brutal. They play Florida, then they play Auburn, then they play Georgia, then they play Alabama, then they play South Carolina. I mean, it's just absolutely brutal, this 5-game stretch from Florida through South Carolina. It's very possible that Tennessee could lose all 5 of those games. If they can start that 5-game stretch off with a win over Florida, I think that gives Tennessee a huge leg up heading into those next 4 games. I still don't think they'll beat Auburn or Alabama no matter what. South Carolina is 50-50 maybe at best. Alabama, I mean, Georgia, Auburn, Alabama, they're just not winning those 3. It's possible they could beat Florida. It's possible they could beat South Carolina. This is a big game here. Dan Mullen needs it too. I mean, listen, you don't want to show up supposedly being the savior of Florida's football program after they've been basically in the toilet for 10 years, haven't won the SEC in 10 years. You don't want to start your first year out at Florida by giving Kentucky their first win over you in 31 years, which you already did, and then giving Tennessee their first SEC win since November of 2016. That's not how you want to start your SEC schedule at the University of Florida if you're Dan Mullen. Can you imagine Mullen coming to Florida and starting 0-2 in the SEC with those 2 losses being to Kentucky and Tennessee? It would be a nightmare scenario for Florida. Whoever loses this game is in bad shape for the rest of the season. That is for sure. Florida is a 4.5-point favorite on the road at Tennessee. I picked Florida to win this game all offseason long. I thought they had more talent than Tennessee. And even though I don't think Dan Mullen is an elite coach, I'll take a coach with some coaching experience over a coach with no coaching experience when the teams are anywhere close to being even. And these teams, I do think, are pretty close to being even. I do think Florida has more talent, particularly on the offensive side of the ball. I think Florida's got some more playmakers on the outside than Tennessee does. I know Tennessee is still in love with Jawan Jennings because he gave you your best win you've had since 1998. And I like the Callaway guy on the outside too. But your quarterback situation is a mess. But then again, look at Florida. Listen, trying to dissect this game is an exercise in futility. I mean, these teams just have a lot of problems and issues. 4.5 points on the road at Tennessee. I honestly could flip a coin to pick a team here, and I would feel just as comfortable and uncomfortable no matter which way I went in this game. These are 2 of my favorite fan bases to sort of needle and poke and prod and irritate. So no matter who I pick to win or lose, it just is what it is. Because this game is so hard to pick right now, I think this is a toss-up game, all right? I just think this is a toss-up game. Because it's so hard to pick, I'm going to go with my initial sort of gut feelings and thoughts on this game that I've had all off season, and I'm going to stick with Florida to pull off the win. I'll take Tennessee in the 4.5 though. Maybe Florida's got a great field goal kicker. I don't know. Maybe they kick a field goal at the end to win it by 1 or 2 or something. I don't know. 2 terrible teams, but you know what? I do think Florida wins this game. but give me Tennessee in the 4.5 points. I think it'll be a close one. All right, that's it. That's all the SEC games coming up for this week. All the games are on Saturday this week. Tomorrow, I'll do the top 25. So I'll go through the entire top 25, and I'll do the same thing I did today, but for all the teams that are ranked within the top 25, minus, of course, the SEC teams that I've already done. Then on Thursday, I'll do another one of these videos where I preview games that didn't fit into either one of the other two categories. They're not SEC teams, and they're not ranked, but they're still interesting games for whatever reason. I appreciate you guys watching. Subscribe to the Uncle Lou channel if you're not already. I post college football videos almost every single day of the year, and sometimes they're even watchable and make a little bit of sense. Thumbs up this video, share it with your friends, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a great morning.